Hey, hi, hello. Bet you weren't expecting to see me on this little corner of the internet again. Where have I been? Missing you. Missing this. Missing showing you how to make weird internet stuff. So that's what we're gonna do today. Here, under this harsh lighting of a co-working pod, I'm gonna show you how to make a personality quiz. I love these. I have been wanting to make one, but the client opportunity has just never presented itself. So I figured I would just make one, show you how to make one in case it is helpful for you. I feel like personality or like product type quizzes are really useful tools for lead generation. I know Tori Dunlap, a financial feminist, has talked about this a lot on her podcast because it was something that she used to kind of really bolster her email list, was a money personality quiz. So things like that. I think about all the quizzes you take when you want like a really specialty product. Like I've seen it used for a lot of different like hair care shampoos and different like dog food. There's a lot of different use cases here. I'm going to show you sort of a more traditional use case that I built, and then we'll do like a fun one. But first, a plan, because that's something I do now, is show you the plan. So what are we building? We are building this. This is a little personality quiz that I designed in Figma. I feel like, what design career is right for me? I'm still asking myself that question to this day. This is a really simple quiz. It really only has 3 answers. So if I click take the quiz here, it brings up some questions. So you can say what type of projects you like, colors, and then if I answer all of the questions at the end, when I hit submit, it gives me a answer. I've also built a different version of this where you answer all of the questions, and before it shows you the answer, it will ask for your email. So that is another version of it that's kind of a small other piece of it, but just know that you can do kind of either way here. You can just do like a regular quiz, or you can capture emails with it as well. But I'm going to kind of focus on just the personality quiz aspect for this portion. So I'm going to go through the structure. I'm going to talk about what I used, the stack here, kind of walk through the main HTML elements so that you kind of know what you're designing and building with. We'll take a quick walkthrough of the JavaScript code that's used to build this. And I'll also talk about things I might add in the future if this were an actual client project or if I were doing it for myself. And then we'll do a little one together so you can see how you can customize this too. So let's jump in. So how does the structure of this quiz work? Basically, I put all of the questions into a spreadsheet, and there was a column for each answer, and each answer has a different value. And when the user takes the quiz, it's basically capturing each one of those values, and at the end, it's running through and seeing how often that value occurred. So you can see here that for my 3 questions, they just have values of 3, 2, and 1. So if somebody gave a majority of 3s, it's going to give them the result that results in the most 3s. There are probably a lot of different ways to do this kind of calculation, but I just felt like this was the easiest way to go about it. This is the Google Doc I used to build the questions. So you can see there's a question, an answer, and a value field for each answer as well. It would have been possible for me to just insert the values into the HTML just based on which number question it was, but I kind of wanted to give the option to move around these answers, basically that if you're kind of wanting your user to not like immediately know that like, oh, all the number 1 questions have like a certain outcome, if you wanted to do that. But I feel like this is just the simplest way to do it. And all of those go into Webflow's CMS here. So speaking of Webflow, to talk about the stack we used, all of the questions I uploaded into Webflow CMS. As far as the HTML structure here, there is a start screen div. So that's kind of what happens at the beginning. There is like a questions div. And then finally there is the results div, and there's also the optional email div. And so those are kind of the main elements that we're going to be bringing into JavaScript to show and hide. And then all of the code lives in Slater. So Slater is an app that you can use to link up with Webflow to write custom code. There's lots of different ways to host custom code with Webflow. You can insert it directly into Webflow if you want to. I like Slater because you can use the like AI companion within Slater to build. So I use that a whole lot for this project. So next I'm going to walk you through how all of the Webflow side stuff is set up. So all the HTML elements, the styling, how all of that works, and specifically some of the elements that we'll need to pay attention to when we bring them into JavaScript. So let's look at that now. So here we are in Webflow. One thing that is important to note about how I built this is I show and hide everything with combo classes. So looking back at our main elements before, here is our hero wrap. In the code, I'm going to add a class of hidden to this later. Here's my quiz wrap. I'm going to add a class of show. So that's my quiz wrap. In here, I have a collection list that's pulling all of my Webflow collection items and showing the question. And then there is a form in here because you can't have radio fields without a form. And there is the radio button, and then there's the radio question. So you'll see in here that the text is coming from answer 1, this is coming from answer 2, answer 3, and if I click on the radio buttons, you can see that I have an attribute down here of value 1. So that is being pulled from the CMS as well. So this one is being pulled value 2, and this one is pulling value 3. So those are the kind of most important elements here. One important thing to note about the way this is set up is you'll notice I don't have custom radio buttons here. I did want to with my design, but for whatever reason, when I used custom radio buttons, it kind of broke everything. Basically, when you use custom, it treats all of the button groups as the same, and you can't select individual answers here. Yeah, but I don't quite know why that is. If somebody else finds a different way around that, let me know. But for now, they're all just default. I think there's some slight styling you could do to them with custom CSS, but I just haven't done that yet. So that's the question list, that's the quiz wrap here, and I am going to remove my show class here. And then the last element that is important is our results container, so I'll put show on that. You'll see that nothing happens, and that is because all of the results are in different divs here. Why did I nest them like this? I don't remember, but that's the way I built it, so that's the way it is. So here is the first result. I'm gonna put show classes on all of these to show you, but these are my 3 answers. And the way that I'm identifying these in my JavaScript is actually by the divs ID. So these end up being important names that I'm going to bring into JavaScript later. So make sure you know that kind of which result is which. So these I have as 3, 2, and 1. And that is because within my questions, the values correspond to 3, 2, and 1. All right, let's talk about code. So this is my beautiful code that I definitely wrote all myself and had absolutely no help on at all. Just kidding. I had a lot of help from the AI gods. We are going to start off grabbing the elements that we need So I grab the start button, the quiz wrapper div, the hero wrapper div, and I'm just grabbing all of these by IDs. So you'll see here my hero wrap. I've also got my quiz wrap, and the main buttons that I identify are the start button and the submit button that is within the quiz wrap. Within here, I add an event listener to my start button that adds the show class to the quiz questions and removes or adds a hidden class to my hero wrap section. This next function is a function to calculate the most common answer in an array. So that array is going to be all of our quiz answers. So this function is going to be called when we click on the button to calculate results. It's going to take that array and find the most common one. And the biggest function of this is the calculate results function, which honestly isn't even that large. So what is going on in here is I am grabbing all of the input radios. I'm not even using an ID for this. I'm just grabbing anything that is a radio, and if it is checked, we are going to look at it. Next up, we're just grabbing all of the questions in here, and that is just taking a high level div of questions and counting them all, so that in the next line of code, we can see if the amount of inputs we have matches the amount of questions we have. And if it doesn't, meaning that the user hasn't filled out all of the inputs, we can display an alert. The next thing I'm doing is for each of those inputs, I'm going to get that value as assigned to them earlier, that 1, 2, or 3 value, and it's going to put it in an array of user answers, which we also defined up here, which I forgot to mention. So we're getting that array. I am then creating a variable that calls my calculate most common answer, plugs in that array, and it gives me that result. You'll see I added console log in here earlier when I was testing the code, so that if you go in here and you check what happened, you can see that there's our array. The most common answer was 2, and so 2 is our answer, and 2 is the result here. But to show the result, I create a different variable and just set the text to nothing, and then I check the scores. So if you're customizing this yourself, this will be the thing you change mostly. So here I have, if the score is 3, show the result 3 div. If score is 2, show result 2 div. If score is 1, result div is going to equal 1. And then I get the element and put that specific result there. And then I add a class list of show. I also show the results container because I did them separately for some reason. And then I hide the quiz wrap. And that's the calculate results function. And then at the very end, I'm getting the submit button, putting an on click, and putting the calculate result function in there, so it all works. If you are watching this, you said, how can I take this one step further and add a gated email form? And I'm going to show you. So what I'm looking at right now is the form with email submit page if you are in the clonable. The main thing that is different about this page is you'll see that at the end of the question list, instead of a submit button, there is a next button. And then instead of a immediate form success button after that, there is a form wrap. Not a form success, like the results container. So there's the form wrap. The main way that I've set this up to work is that when you answer all of the questions, you click next, everything is calculated, but it sends you, instead of to the results, it sends you to the form wrap. And using Webflow's form functionality, once you fill out the form and you get a success state, that is when you see the results. So the results container, same principle as the original video, but the results container is in the success form instead. And the way that translates to the code is you'll see that there's a next button identified here on line 40. And down at the bottom, instead of doing the next button, or using the submit button to calculate the result, it's the next button that calculates the result. In fact, I don't even think we would need this line of code in here, so I'm going to remove it. But that is how it works. A few other things in here is instead of doing like a results container show, it's the email form div gets a class of show. And oh, one other main thing here. The score, so the score of like what result they got, like if they were a 3, if they were a 2, or if they were a 1, gets inputted into the form. So here in the personality quiz, so if I go back to the form here, there's the name, there's the email address, but then there's this hidden form of score. And so ideally when a user submits this form, whatever number they got will go here. So you know if you got a user that had, you know, a name of Jennifer at gmail.com, got a score of 1, you would know that they are a UI UX designer result, or whatever that is. And then you can use that however you want. But just kind of nice to have the information of what they got on the quiz in there. The main way we got that input is by getting an ID of score and then assigning it the score they got. But that's how it works. You might be wondering, Casey, how do I come up with these questions? I don't know. I asked ChatGPT to do it for me, so that's how I came up with all of these questions. But yeah, that's how it works. What else was I gonna say? Things I'd add. A few things that this code doesn't have is a way to show which questions were missed. Because when the alert goes right now, it just tells you that like, hey, not all of them are filled out. I would probably add in like a div that shows up and's like, hey, you missed these, and tells you which ones to go back to, or even better, put some kind of class around this that highlights which one was missed, or like which questions you skipped. That would be something I would add. Would also number the questions. I just left that out. And also a way to email user result. So that's it. That's the code. And now that that's done, I thought we'd build a little something fun. I'm gonna take the next 30 minutes and we'll make a quiz of our own. Won't that be a delight? Let's see what we can do. Okay, what are we building? I saw a really funny tweet at the beginning of the year where people were talking about ins and outs for 2024, and somebody put one of their ins as frogs in 1800s gentleman clothing, and I thought that was the funniest thing in the world because I have a painting of a frog in 1800s gentleman clothing, and it's my favorite piece of art that I've ever bought. And I love it. Where is this going? I thought we could do a little quiz on like what frog are you? You know? Why? I don't know. It'll be funny. We're gonna do it. Let's do it. I can explain. I've been having a lot of fun playing with Visual Electric lately. I feel like it also had a moment on Twitter where it was, everybody was doing cool stuff with it. But it's an AI image generation tool, and it is really effective at kind of doing very stylized stuff. Like you can do photography style, fine art, embroidery, like, what? Just so you know where things are at, this is where we're at. Oh my god, this one has like a scarf hat. Very interesting. Well, these are still going, so I'm gonna move on to other things. I've already duplicated the project, so I'm gonna open that up. Next, I'm gonna make the questions. The last time I used ChatGPT to do this, but I feel like if I asked ChatGPT to generate questions about like what kind of fancy frog are you, that would be weird. Plus, I feel like I know what questions to ask. Like, what is your favorite fancy meal? Clothing do you put on to feel your best? Is your ideal home? Alright, as far as these, I am going to assign them also by number. So I'm gonna do 2s for these. These will be 3s. And then I added a 4th one here, so we'll do 4. Hell yeah. Okay, that is all the questions I'm going to do for now. I might add some before I post this video, but what I'm gonna do is put that in a CSV. I am going to delete all of these from the original. And then I'm gonna import the ones I just did. Perfect. What I didn't do is before I do this is I'm going to cancel. I'm going to go into Webflow and I'm going to add a answer for text, and then I'm going to add a answer for value. Continue. Yeah, so now we're all green. I'll import my 3 questions. I guess we can keep going with the Webflow part of it. So let us get in there. What I would like to do is go ahead and show everything so that I can style it. So I'll show this, I'll show this, and I'll show this. As you can suspect, it did not take me 30 minutes. But, mostly I just got distracted. I'm gonna finish it now. Don't really remember where I was at. I don't know if you saw that I did all of the frogs. We've got Augustus, Oliver, Sebastian I didn't write a bio for. The strongest frog in the land is what we'll say. And then this one's Daniel. He's just the regular frog, I think. And then the thing I hadn't added in Webflow yet was the 4th question. So if you want to do more questions, we already added that in the CMS. So what I am going to do is duplicate, oops, yes, that's allowed. Duplicate this field. I'm going to change this to be answer 4. And then I'm gonna click on this Q radio button. And then I'm gonna change the value to value 4. So that's all I need to do there. I'm gonna keep styling these Webflow things, but I am gonna have to go back to my code here in a little bit when I'm done. Okay. So I'm gonna add one more. Oops. And this will be, so this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. This will be result 4. This will be Daniel. And that is going to be adjusted in our JavaScript also. I think that's all I need. So I'm gonna hop into my code and see what I'll need to change. So the next thing I'm gonna hop in here, I'm gonna use this code and I'm gonna alter it. This will be frog quiz. Right. Okay, so I'm gonna copy that. And I'm really just using this to alter the code since this is an old project. But what I am going to do is add in this line of code if score equals 4, show results 4, and then I'm going to add another else if in here to show my 3 again. That way they're just in order, and I think that's nice. And then I think that's all I would need to change. So I'm going to copy all of this, and then gonna come in here, gonna paste it where I used to have this later code. Actually, no, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and paste it where my old Slater link was, and we'll see if this works. But before I do that, I am gonna set everything to how it's supposed to be on default, so I don't show this by default. And I don't show any of these on default. So I'm going to remove that, remove this, and remove this. And then I'm also going to hide the results container. And I think that is it. I might need to do some mobile situation, but let's just see if this actually worked. Okay. Nice. And let's just take this honestly, like, what's my favorite fancy meal? I don't like raw oysters. I spelled spaghetti wrong. We'll do a hearty stew. Probably my top hat. This might actually be confusing because I don't know what happens if there aren't 2 common ones. So I'm just gonna select 2 here and check. So it's Sebastian. I think I did that wrong. I think the names of my classes are incorrect. Because Sebastian, I shouldn't have gotten. I should have gotten the top hat guy. So let's show all of them again. This is great. We're learning how to troubleshoot. So number 1 should be my top hat guy. Number 2 should be my millionaire guy. Number 3 should be the knight. Number 4 should be Daniel. So let's check that because I didn't check that before. So this one is 4. This one, I think, should be 2, actually. No, this one should be 3. Okay. So this will be 3. This one will be 2. This one will be 1. Yeah. Okay. So I guess I just have them backwards in the original file. That's confusing. Anyway. So first, I'm gonna give myself I want to get Daniel. So, Enchanted Swamp, wearing nothing, eating bugs. The way these guys are being. Yes. Okay. So that is expected. The next thing I'm curious about is if I do like 3 different answers and there's not a common answer. Let's see what happens. Oh. Okay. Augustus was number 1, so I think it might just default to 1. Because it was the first one, maybe? In any case, that's fine with me. Yeah, dude. This guy is so funny. Honestly, I love it. There's nothing I love more than my little frog quiz. And you can have a frog quiz too, if you wanted to. Yeah, I'm gonna polish this up a little bit, and then it'll be a template you can clone, something you can follow along with. I want to see what quizzes you make with this, because, could be fun. Could be kind of fun, you know? Alright. Cool! I'll see you next time here on Casey Makes Something Silly. Alright.